Now, at this point in the course, you're probably thinking really hard about the 4 steps: emotion, change, alert, and share, and getting really stuck on the ones that aren't tactical, mostly emotions. I can't tell you step by step how to craft a story that's going to work. All I know, as someone who has been watching marketers do their work successfully and unsuccessfully for 30 years, is that that's what it comes down to. Did you pick the right story? The tactics are pretty easy to get right over time. It's really interesting if you think about it. If I showed you an ad for Apple Computer, how many seconds of the ad would you have to see before you knew it was an ad for Apple? If I showed you an ad for Dell or Microsoft, how many seconds would you have to see? You might have to see the whole thing. The slogan keeps changing, the typefaces keep changing, the look and the feel keep changing, the point keeps changing, the story keeps changing, because they never bothered to figure this part out. And so I'm pushing back on you really hard here to say, I know it's difficult to figure out what you want to stand for, who you want to delight, what levers you want to have available to you. But if you don't decide, you're going to be at the mercy of the system, and you deserve better than that. So the last 4 things we're going to do is, I've got a list of words. Ain't nothing but a word. That's all marketing is. A list of words for you to get your arms around for each of emotion, change, alert, and share. And each list is shorter than the one before because the most important list is the first one, emotion. So let's start with that. Story is where we start. That's the first word. Now, I've used the word story a bunch, but it's not clear what I mean sometimes. Story doesn't mean once upon a time, and it doesn't end with, and they lived happily ever after. No, the story is what we believe and tell other people, the arc of the narrative. So the story of Tom's shoes is pretty obvious. Everyone who's touched it understands what the story of Tom's shoes is. That if you go to a high-end stereo store, you see one of those stereo amplifiers with the tubes burning bright, the story is speaking right out to you. It's not trying to be invisible. Go into a Bang & Olufsen store to buy a piece of stereo equipment. It's totally different than going into a Best Buy to buy some stereo equipment. It's the story. When the Maybach came out, we know what the story of the Maybach was. And there's a reason that the MBA is filled with guys who drive Maybachs, because the story had all sorts of emotional connections that were backed up by the car itself. At no point did they say, this is a reliable car. The word reliable wasn't part of what they wanted to stand for. So that's why brand and story are inextricably related. A brand cannot exist unless someone tells themselves a story about what they are buying. So, unless you're in the real estate business, when you get into an elevator, it doesn't matter if it's a Coney elevator or an Otis elevator. It's an elevator. There's no story. You get in and it moves. But if you're in the real estate business, there may very well be a story between the two. I have no idea. That story could go to reliability. It could go to efficiency. It could go to what kind of person comes to service the thing when it breaks. All of those things are things that you can live. So Whirlpool showed up back when most appliances were crap. And they said, we have Whirlpool, no, Maytag. See, I got it wrong because it was many years ago. Maytag showed up and said, we have lonely repair people, right? Lonely repair people better be true if you want me to believe it. What kind of person is going to pay extra for a Maytag instead of a Whirlpool? It's an interesting discussion. But the challenge here, and this is, I think, why I confused them, is they were all the same. They claimed that they had lonely repair people, but as a user, I don't really know the difference. And that thing that as the user needs to know the difference gets to the heart of brand and story, which leads to the third word, experience. We don't sell stuff, we sell the way people experience the stuff. That when you go to Disney World, they make you wait in line for rides, even if there's no crush of people who want to use it. Because they found that the experience of riding on a ride you had to wait for is better than the experience of riding on a ride where you could just walk right on. That when you think about which elements of Disney World are programmed, the answer would be all of them. That if you hear birds singing, they are not real birds. They are speakers in the ground making bird sounds. and that they are able over time, as they track more and more things about what you do, to create an environment that gives you an experience you want to have again. And we can create an experience on an airplane, and we can create an experience in a B2B sales call. That these experiences, Walmart can afford to make the entrance to Walmart look fancier. They choose not to. Not because it would save them money to make it look cheesy, but that they make more money by making it look cheesy. Because they are creating an experience when you walk in the store that says to you, you are about to save money.